And they are on. All right, it is now 3 p.m. on Tuesday, April 7th. I will call to order the Board of Directors of Indian Wells Valley Water District Finance Committee. So with that, are there any comments from the public? Is anybody online, or does the staff have anything? No? All right, so I'll ask one more time. Any comments before we get too far? Nothing? Okay. All right. We'll move on to number 3, fraud risk discussion. Any fraud issues?
No, nothing to report.
Thank you so much. All right, number 4, groundwater imported water costs. I know we keep this on here. What do we want to cover on this these days? I'm wondering, we have so much going on and with the issues and.
I will just say that I'm doing a lot of research into WRDA, into the funding through the Water and Energy Appropriations Act, and just kind of doing some research. I would hope to, at some point, be able to give the board a thorough, at least my assessment of the potential funding opportunities for the imported water pipeline or lack thereof, and from what I'm finding today, but that's to be decided in the future.
Is the GA also trying to find?
Watch your mic.
Is the GA also trying to find state resources, or are they focused mostly on WRDA?
I have not, I'm sure that they have authorized Capital Corp to look for funding, additional funding for the pipeline in all different areas. And part of my research is to look at things like the state revolving fund, other grant programs. And so there'll be some discussion on that, although I don't think I've seen anything official where they've authorized, say, a letter to go, an official package to go in for a specific grant opportunity that I've seen.
And I'm still continuing on any of my financial analysis. Since they don't have a finance committee meeting, as you know, I'm putting together total expenditures by year and who received what money and comparing that to the audit. Soon, this is pretty much completed. This one is, but I want to look it over one more time. I believe it's all from the, I went to basically to the webpage for the GA and went through all their approval for payments on their consent agenda. So I gathered all the information, everyone has paid, so we have a total for who has paid how much through 2025 and how much has been totally spent. I'll just let you know the total spent is around $27 million as of the end of 2025. But this lays out a lot of details of where all the money went and who the vast amount went to, and also shows a difference between the audit expenses as compared to actual approved expenses. So I'm trying to get okay to get this out there as quickly as I can. The other thing that I'm working on is what is if the pipeline goes through, and what is the cost estimate and how it will affect the property owners of the valley based on certain scenarios. And with the 150 million and without 150, so I'm pretty close to that. It's pretty eye-opening when you look at the cost per parcel especially, or the cost per acre. But I want to make sure I get everything right here. I actually got the taxable parcels and taxable acres off of the Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority's engineering report for the adoption of the basin from 2020. I went to all their their parcel, taxable parcel reports, and that's where I got that information. So all of this is going to be pretty darn accurate. But there's different scenarios in here that can be looked at. And so I'm going to continue with that because I think that the public, especially, I know that our ratepayers who are paying a lot of this or most of it or will pay most of it are very anxious to see what's happening. And the only thing I don't, and we're trying to put together total revenues collected as well, which I think we can get total revenues by year. What we don't know if we can separate out is the revenue streams. There's 4 of them, which is grants, replenishment fee, pumping fee, and mitigation fee. It'd be nice if we can break those out, how much for each was collected. And then the next step from there would be, if anybody wants to do it, which I don't know if I'll ever have the time, is determine how was it divided up and used to pay what. And so, but a finance committee could have solved all this or had this information, but they don't have one. So I've sort of taken it on the best that I can So
So-
bear with me.
Yeah, so you bring up an interesting next step, and that is something that was brought up to me by a real estate person I was talking to, and they said, well, let's say they built the pipeline, what could we afford to do with the water? And one of my personal experiences was when I was at Vandenberg Air Force Base, we were connected to the State Water Project, which is what they want to connect us to here. And the connection to the State Water Project was so expensive, it caused us to have to shut down the Vandenberg Golf Course, much to the chagrin of the commanders. The commanders fought that for about 10 years and brought in all of the best Air Force lawyers that they could find, but could not find a way to escape from the cost of the State Water Project, which made the cost of the golf course so expensive. And so what you start to think about is like, what's the real cost of the water? And if the theory of the pipeline is to enable some sort of growth or a better lifestyle, or you can have a lawn in front of your house, it may turn out to be that the water they import is so expensive that it might not even be usable. You're certainly not going to water a golf course with it. You're not, what businesses might be able to afford it. We already know at the cost of the replenishment fee, around $2,000 an acre foot, you're already at the point where sales can't afford it, farming can't afford it. And then you start to ask the question, our estimate is water could be as much as $5,000 or $7,000 or more an acre foot. And you go, well, who could even afford it? And does it become exactly the opposite of what the GA is looking for? It doesn't become a growth enhancing project. It actually becomes a growth killing project in a sense, because no one can afford to do anything with water that's that expensive, just like the golf course at Vandenberg that got shut down because they couldn't afford their water bill.
One last thing, since these numbers come directly from the GA's consent calendar, I don't have any problem with reiterating them. Now, these are not audited because, like I said, the audit numbers don't match the actual expenses approved. Just the top 5 expenditures: Stetson Engineering, as of the end of 2025, $9 million. Prevost and Pritchard, $7 million. The next in line is City of Ridgecrest, $1.7 million. And then RG Services, which is Regional Governmental Services, $1.4 million, and Capital Corps, $1.2 million. Those are by far the largest. Provost and Pritchard, $7 million. This, like I said, as of the end of 2025. I'm starting to track 2026 based on the consent calendar approvals, and I believe that you can probably push Stetson to $9.5 million right now. Ridgecrest City was 1.7. So I think this is important information. It sort of puts a real picture on all this money that's being spent. And your answer, our question is, what have we gotten for $27 million? All right. And unless there's any other comments on imported water costs, I will move on. Hearing none, I will go on to financial statement for end of March.
Okay. If you can believe it, we're 75% of the way through the year.
I know, what the heck?
So,
What the hey?
so to date, or at least through March, we have revenues of 13.5 million, which is about 558,000 below budget. The largest part of that negative there is just pretty much grant revenue. We haven't received grant revenue
Okay.
because we haven't done all the grant projects.
Right, okay,
We're waiting on several things to get going on that. So,
okay.
you will see we are down a little bit on total water sales, 109,000.
Yeah,
That's about 5% down from last year on water usage.
well, you couldn't predict all those massive rainstorms.
Yeah. So, we're not that far off.
Yeah,
Probably less than 5% if I'm doing the math.
Or yellow, so they're using more water.
yeah, they're feeling pretty bad, aren't they? Yeah.
I will gladly take that money here.
Yeah.
For expenditures, we're at 12.9 million, which is about 1.2 million below budget. So everyone's kind of pulling their weight and saving money so we can offset any reductions in revenue. So we're at a net positive, just under $600,000, which is about $685,000 better than budget.
Right.
We do have capital expenditures just under 2 million, and 1.3 of that is either funded by the bond proceeds or grants. 845,000 in debt service. And paid to the GA to date, $19,539,799.
The gift that keeps giving, yeah, okay. I don't have any questions on this unless you do, Mel. Yeah. 2/3 of the way through, unbelievable. Where does the time go?
Orders.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, do we have a caller? Then caller, state your name and hello.
Yes, this is Renee Westerlusk. I just have a question on when you said it's 500, was that revenues were 558,000? Is that
Yes, revenues from what we anticipated being at this point in the year is down about 558,000. Total of that, the grant was 460,000 that we haven't received yet, and that's because we haven't spent it yet. So it's really a net zero on that.
okay? So that's revenues coming in to pay for like water bills and
No. That would be money to pay for like when we do Dune 3 consolidation or Rademacher consolidation. We are reimbursed by the state, and that's where that $450,000 would go. Total revenue for like water bills were down about 200,000.
okay. So where are you like within like this month's positive or negative balance is?
So that would be our net revenue, which is a positive 595,000. We've brought in 595,000 more dollars than we've expensed.
Is that for like for the whole year, your accumulation,
Yes, year to date, yes.
year to date? But like, what is it just for this month, this past month?
I don't have that in front of me. I'm looking at year to date.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Renee. All right, any other questions before we move on? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to accounts payable disbursements. Give us a moment, please. What's that? Where'd you see?
Yeah, it's just part of payroll.
Yes,
Oh,
part of payroll.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Gateway really hit us hard.
Who's that? Gateway.
Gateway Ace Hardware. Yeah.
Yeah. So-
Is that insurance bill to JPIA kind of settled, or is it still ramping up?
It's the Aqua JPIA. That's monthly. That's the health insurance.
Oh, health insurance.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So we do show it expensed here, but part of that comes from the district and part is funded from employees.
Employees, yeah.
I see we paid Ron Kozinski $56.
Yeah.
Do you want to give us a calculation of what that works out as an hourly rate?
0.04 cents or something, 5 cents maybe.
Sorry, I had to point that out.
Ah,
Picking on poor Ron.
Is that for the unofficial account of auditing you're doing, or?
no. Yeah, that's right. That's for the 80, 90, 100 hours I've spent. Yeah. No, I was for some travel. Okay. Yeah.
I feel like none of you have gotten to Murphy and Everett.
I have, I was still trying to swallow that.
Swallow.
yeah. Well, we're right in the middle. We're right smack dab in the middle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Being awfully busy.
Yeah.
Depositions are all done, right?
Yeah, they're all done and they basically held the hearing on two of the issues that were coming on on Monday.
And the judge is allowing Anthony Brown. to-
Right, yes. Mhm. So Doug's doing a pretty good job. It's still, we're right in the thick of things now.
Mhm.
That's all there is to it. Yeah.
Has our solar come online yet, Ty?
Yes. Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago, they finished up the last repair.
Oh, just a little too early to see an impact on the Edison bill then.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the lowest Edison's bills I've seen in a while, it seems like. I remember when it used to be $80,000, $90,000.
Well,
And nothing on the second page. That Zoom communication one, is that yearly? What is that?
That's every month.
Okay.
That's,
Does it depend on usage or how does it work?
they have a flat fee and then any overages, I believe, have a nominal fee for them. That's our phones, that's for our
Oh, okay.
teleconference, it's everything.
So it's basically telecommunication?
Yeah.
Okay. And Zoom communications is the basis of that, I
Yeah.
guess?
They
Okay.
provide the IP phones,
All
yeah.
right. All right.
United Rentals is for that excavator for,
Yes.
is that for the whole period or for the whole job?
They usually pay by month,
Oh, yeah.
so it's probably a month's worth.
We shouldn't see that again, or
No, we should be done with that, yeah.
At least till next year.
at least till next year. What was
Yeah.
the water on Unicron Road off Brady?
It's where the contractor was flushing.
Ah,
So
okay,
there, we replaced their hose for them, so it didn't make that big of a mess again.
thanks.
Mhm.
Yeah, I drove by and I went, oh no, the pipe's leaking.
I knew they were going to be flushing it. And so you disinfected and you're flushing, or where are you in the, when are you going to turn it back on? I know you probably discussed.
The pipe has been filled and it has been, I would call it super chlorinated to
Okay.
make sure that it's clean. It's not yet hooked to the system. They've returned the pipe to nominal chlorine levels, is that correct? And they're going to next prepare attaching it, making the connections into the system and make it operable
Okay.
for the summer so we can have a good water supply for the summer. So there's 4 connections, one at each end of the pipe, and then there's a couple cross streets where they have smaller connections coming off. And that will be occurring. Renee,
We still have to do the bacteriological sampling,
okay.
which will be tomorrow. And then once you get the results, then they can proceed with doing the connections.
The
So,
construction
next
next are
couple
sort
of-
of done.
Probably next week it'll
Yeah.
be.
Next week or so. Yeah.
What's
So-
that line pressurized at?
They pressure test it to 150 PSI,
Wow.
way beyond what it will actually
We
see.
operated around,
Mhm.
what, 30?
60,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
60 to 90 somewhere, I thought,
Yeah.
yeah. If they really operated at that pressure they tested at, every house would have an issue.
Right, right. I know.
Usually
Yeah.
Around 30 to 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since it's a transmission line, it's not going to be any high pressure.
I don't see anything on here. I mean, yeah, couple tough to swallow, but it is what it is. And hopefully we'll be through. The June 1st is going to mean a lot and where we head on from there. But it should start to back down some,
There,
getting close. I know
Almost.
Ty's anxious. So am I. So I don't see any reason, unless you do, Mel, that we can't go ahead and recommend the board approval of the accounts payable.
nope, I agree.
Okay, so we agree with that. Recommended the board accounts payable to be paid. All right, any concerns, questions on this? Nothing? I do want to ask one thing that I would like that put together, now that we're done with this section of the pipeline, this is for John and Renee. Can you guys put together an estimate of, and we know this is the first time we've done this, so we know it'll be plus or minus, of I don't know how to do a cost per foot to compare it with any time a contractor worked that might have done it. I'd like to see that because I do believe we're saving money. Obviously we are. So, but it'd be nice that if we had that, and that might help Ty plan for the next year and what's going on, everything that's happening, and all contingencies too, everything you've had to do with it, including having to repair that one section and the fittings you needed and valves you needed, everything. Yes.
We can, once we're completely done, we'll take a look at that.
Okay, yeah. So just, I don't necessarily need to make that an item until you have it ready. And you can just make it an item to discuss it so we can get a good accurate comparison. I think that the board as well as the ratepayers like to see that, hey, this is paid off and hopefully we can continue with work like this down the road. without having to mobilize massive contractors out there.
I'm a little worried that we won't be able to capture the value that our workforce now has, a new skill set they learned by working on this.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Make them better. I mean.
Next time, yeah, next time. And there's, because it's a learning curve. This first one was, go ahead, John. Yeah.
Yeah, to say the least, these guys blasted through over 2,600 feet of pipe. Like they did a phenomenal job, and they started with the hardest section first. So I'm not gonna,
Hardest because the dirt.
they had to bring it up. So
Yeah.
it was so deep, they had to throw in a couple big fittings and secure those, and then bring that line up to grade over a period of time. And now that it's to grade, it will go quicker.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So obviously, when you come up with a cost per foot, we have to take into account that was a learning type of curve, yeah, type of thing.
Yeah, and if you compare it to what the last contractor did, they had this nice
Well,
flat stretch with no houses, just they did have the Navy fence there and the power poles, which not say that's insignificant, but, our guys were also working in a residential area,
That's right.
industrial areas, and going, crossing streets and crossing people's
Fences and-
fences and all the stuff. So it was not an easy task we threw at them for the first time.
how far will the next 2,600 feet get you? I'm just curious,
Get us past Drummond.
past
Just on
Drummond?
the other side of Drummond is the plan.
That's the next goal point. All right. I don't have anything else. You have anything, Mel?
No.
No?
Thank you very
Any more
much.
questions from anybody? All right. Oh, we have one? Yes, we do. All right. Renee, I know it's you, so what do you have?
On the Brady Street pipeline, does it have to undergo inspections from anyone on the state board or DWR
Mm,
after it's been?
No, it does not.
Okay,
However,
Correct.
we have an in-house inspector, so we have we'll call it a separation. We have an inspector separately working that is on site every day inspecting the pipeline while it's being built. As Renee said, there are significant state requirements and engineering requirements that we impose both on ourselves and from the state in terms of how it is disinfected, how it is pressure tested, and all of those requirements are met and verified by our own inspectors, and we generally share that data also with our, we'll call it our consulting contract engineer, as well as Renee. And so I would say that there's significant oversight of what's done and significant testing of both the water quality and the integrity of the pipe as that project moves forward.
because I was comparing it to the pipeline on Inyakern Road. That had to be approved by the state, right? In the final?
No,
No, it had to be approved by, this board had to approve it and accept the work. And I believe the standards that it was built to are pretty much identical to the standards we built this pipe to. Is that correct?
Right. We have to abide by AWWA, which is the American Water Works Association standards, plus their standard engineering standards that, these things are done by. So other than that, no, there's no oversight by the state. Now, our grant-funded projects, we did have to run by the state, and they did have to approve plans and such, but not these projects.
so it boils down to this. If the state's providing money through a grant, then they're going to be involved in the engineering and inspection and stuff like, maybe the inspection, if that's their choice.
They approve the
They,
plan.
that's right, they approve the plans, but they don't come out there and inspect. But if they're not involved, then it's up to us, and we adhere to all engineering requirements.
The only time I've had them come out is when we put online like a new well or tank,
Yeah,
but for pipeline, no.
And there was compaction testing done by the county because it's next to a road, and there's a number of different tests. I mean, we had to adhere to specific traffic control standards, and there's a lot of requirements we had to comply with. So it was, I think you should feel confident that it was done absolutely professionally.
to be
Okay.
honest with you, I think I would believe our inspectors in engineering and engineering firms and everything we follow than the state inspector. I mean, they're important to put they check a box. And that's typically what the state does, is check a box. So, and they're mostly going to be looking at reports you've done and study and analysis that has been done by our inspectors and everything else. They're gonna be looking at the paperwork of all the inspections that were done by us.
That's exactly right, yes.
Yeah,
Daily reports done by the inspector.
that's right, daily reports, yeah. That's it. That's a good point. Process, yeah. Turn your microphone on.
And you don't need change orders when goofy things like a plastic bag comes up or, our guys just get it done and there's not a lot of drama. So, that part is just makes things a lot better as well. And it's hard, it's not a measurable thing in terms of, it's hard to measure in terms of dollars, but in terms of like the ability to get things done that need to be done without a lot of extra work by the board or by the staff, that's a fantastic benefit as well.
So did we answer your question, Renee, or do you have any other questions?
You've answered it pretty much. I just, Renee Marquecho mentioned whenever there's state grant money involved, then usually the state monitors in some way.
Yeah, they oversee, I guess we can call it. Yeah.
Okay, okay,
Okay, thank you.
all right, thanks.
All right, with that, if there's no other questions or comments, I'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 3:26 precisely. Thank you.